Вітаю, my dear listeners! Welcome back to another episode where ancient Slavic wisdom meets modern relationship chaos. I'm here to remind you of something simple but life-changing. Men and women are not two versions of the same human. We're different physiologically, physically, emotionally, hormonally, spiritually, and in the Slavic tradition, this wasn't seen as a problem, it was the design. Two halves, different but complementary, like fire and water, like the sun and the moon, like kvass and hot borscht, both good but for totally different purposes. Today we'll dive into why we often misunderstand each other, how our brains and emotions work in the different ways, and how to communicate so you don't accidentally create a war at home what would shame even medieval Kiev Rus. Let's get started. Across many cultures, men and women are seen as two elemental forces of nature, complementary, opposing, and interdependent. In Chinese philosophy, they are yang and yin, the active fire and the receptive water whose harmony sustain the universe. In Hindu cosmology, Shiva's still power awakens only through Shakti's vibrant energy. Each culture, in its own poetry, teaches that when masculine and feminine forces unite in balance, life itself flourishes in beauty and order. In Slavic tradition, man is seen as the sun, radiating strength and direction, while a woman is associated with the moon, reflecting light with tenderness and intuition. A man, the vector, direction, logic, movement, the sun. A woman, the field, intuition, emotion, cycles, the moon. No better, no worse. These two creatures have different functions. Where modern relationships fail is when people pretend these differences don't exist. Problems and misunderstandings come when you expect the opposite side to function like you. So let's break down real examples. Men and women are different. Physically, emotionally, mentally, hormonally. Nobody can argue that man in general is bigger, stronger, hairier. Some can say, but no. We don't talk about exceptions and clinical cases. Physiologically, the male and female are different. Our brains are wired in distinct ways that shaped how each perceive and response to the world. In men, neural connections tend to run mostly within each hemisphere separately from front to back. Logics and emotions don't communicate to each other, or very rare. Man analyzes only available information, no hints, no hidden meanings. This way, man enhances focus, three-dimensional awarenesses, and task-oriented problem-solving. Men excel in concentrated, goal-driven thinking. We will talk about this later. In a woman's brain, there are more cross-hemispheric connections between the right and left side of the brain. It means that both logics and emotions work together. Men would say impossible. Very possible. While meeting a new person, communicating with them, a woman notices micro-motions such as raised eyebrow, hidden smirk, etc., and analyzes the whole picture from the perspective of how the content of the talk corresponds to the how it is delivered. Meaning what was said and how it was said. And more important, if this what matches the how. Then she provides her conclusion saying, no, I don't trust this person, or yes, this person is trustworthy. However, she cannot explain why she thinks so. We call it intuition, no reason required. This biological design allows women to process experiences more holistically and communicate emotions with ease. Smart men listen to their women when they need to make an important decision. We are differently on a hormone level as well. Hormonal differences profoundly shape the natural rhythm, energy, and emotional world of men and women. Testosterone dominant in men fuels strength, competitiveness, focus, and the drive of achieve and protect. Estrogen and progesterone predominant in women create cyclical waves of sensitivity, empathy, intuition, and nurturing energy. These hormones influence not only the body but also mood, motivation, and even communication style. A man's relatively stable hormonal pattern supports consistency and endurance, while a woman's changing hormonal landscape gives her depth, adaptivity, and emotional insight. Let me summarize. The physiology dictates behavioral patterns. In men, testosterone drives focus, problem-solving thinking, risk-taking approach, purpose-based actions. Stress either stimulates their masculine behavior or shuts them down. In either case, man needs solitude to think and resolve an issue and rebalance. In women, the physiology works differently. Oxytocin drives bonding. A woman feels safe with a man with whom she bonds. She wants to trust this man, and this way she builds an emotional connection. Stress increases talking because a woman needs to talk the stress out. Woman often thinks out of loud, speaks to herself, which can sometimes drive a man crazy. When a woman is under stress, she needs reassurance that she will survive and be okay. Then she can rebalance. Stress is destructive for women. Those differences cause common failure and misunderstandings. A woman talks more when stressed. Man talks less when stressed. Both think the other is wrong, but they are simply running different biological software. What is the solution? Well, for men, I would tell them give safety, presence, soft eyes. And for women, give him space without interpreting it as a rejection. And then balance will return. Men and women often display different thinking styles shaped by their brain structure and chemistry. Men tend to think in a linear, solution-oriented way, focusing on one problem at a time, aiming for clarity and efficiency. Their reasoning is often driven by logic and results. Male thinking, linear, boxed, mission-oriented. A man's mind works like drawers, one drawer at a time, labeled, organized. He opens a drawer, works on the task, closes it, and moves on. If you interpret him in the work drawer, congratulations, you just created a communication earthquake. In real life, it can be like that. He is fixing a problem at work in his head. She asks, "Why are you so distant? Are you upset with me?" To him, nothing happened, but she interprets it like something happened. Well, women, on the other hand, tend to think in a more web-like or interconnected way, linking emotions, memories, and context together. This allows them to read nuances, sense moods, and make intuitive decisions that consider relationships and the bigger picture. Female thinking is multidimensional, webbed, holistic. A woman's mind is like a constellation, everything is connected. If she remembers an event from 2 years ago, it's instantly connected to this morning, to yesterday, to the tone of the text message, to the moon cycle, and to whether the barista smiled at her too much. This is not chaos. This is pattern recognition on a cosmic level. Well, there is a Slavic proverb. A woman sees the whole forest. A man sees the path. While men excel at simplifying complexity into action, a woman excels at sensing complexity within connection. When he goes silent, it means he is processing. When she jumps across topics, it's because she has already made connection. How it can work in real life, you ask? Well, men, when you need to resolve a problem or you are just processing the information she gave you, say, give me 20 minutes to think, then I'll come back to you. And woman, be patient. I understand that sometimes while he is thinking in your mind, you have resolved all the problems of cosmic size and come up with the best solution ever. And then you want to share it with your man, but he looks like he fell into coma. Well, hold on until his eyes return signs of a live person and then ask him, what do you think about all what I told you? But don't be surprised if you learn at the end of the day that he didn't think about your information, since he didn't consider it important for him. Don't get frustrated if he asks you to repeat it again. Men and women communicate in distinctly different ways. Men usually speak to convey information, solve problems, or establish status. They value clarity, brevity, and purpose. Their communication is often direct and goal-oriented, as we said. Women, in contrast, tend to use conversation to connect, share feelings, and build emotional closeness. They value tone, empathy, and mutual understanding as much as the words themselves. A man may speak to fix, a woman may speak to feel. Words for men are tools. Conversation is a mission. He listens to the problem, not to the poetry. If his woman says, I had a stressful day, he hears, find solution. Then he offers, quit the job, talk to your boss, start your small business. But she didn't want a solution, she needed just presence, someone's ears, and supportive phrases like, I'm here for you, I'm with you, do you need my help? Women communicate to connect. She speaks to feel understood, not fixed. Not always, though. But in those cases, a woman will tell you directly that she needs you to resolve an issue. Well, words for her is an opportunity for bonding. Conversation is an emotional flow. Man, don't ask your woman, why are you telling me your coworker's cousin's dog's birthday? Because you will hear that it was part of her emotional landscape of the day. How to solve? Easy. Men, when your woman comes to you to talk, ask her if she wants support or solutions. And women, when you approach your man with a goal to talk, tell him that he doesn't need to do anything, just listen and sometimes nod. This one correction can save marriages. You can think that men don't have emotions. Not really. Men and women process emotions through different physiological and neurological pathways, leading to distinct emotional expressions. Men typically experience emotions in more contained way, with stronger activation in brain regions tied to action rather than verbal expression. So they may withdraw or seek solutions instead of talking about feelings. Women, influenced by higher oxytocin and greater cross-hemispheric communication, tend to process emotions through connection, talking, emphasizing, and expressing what they feel to find relief and understanding. A man's emotional energy often moves inward toward resolution. A woman's moves outward toward relationship. How emotions rise in men? Slowly but deep. They rise like lava, quiet while he's processing, then steady, then boom, and she gets scared and thinks, what a psychotic type he is. A woman's emotions are quick but cyclical. They rise like waves. She feels it now, releases it, and then she's calm again. The conflict? Yes. He thinks her waves means catastrophe. She thinks his silence means withdrawal. What a solution? Easy. Women, don't fear a man's quiet. He is working inside, but also don't fear his lava eruption. He is releasing his stress. Leave him alone in that state. He will return when he is calm. Man, don't fear a woman's waves. She will return to peace if she feels heard. And please, don't freak her out with your unleashed stress relief. She is your beloved woman, not a stress relief pillow, right? Slavic proverb says, the storm passes, the earth remains. Now let's talk about something foundational. Men live on admiration. Women bloom on adoration. This isn't vanity. This is ancient relational architecture. Men expect appreciation for what they do. A man's identity is tied to his actions. Protecting, solving, fixing, deciding, building, guiding. He needs to hear, I appreciate what you did. You make me feel safe. Thank you for taking care of this. Admiration is not phrases. It is physiological oxygen for masculine energy. When a woman admires a man, he becomes stronger, calmer, more generous, more invested. Women expect adoration for who they are. A woman's identity is tied to her essence, her softness, presence, intuition, warmth, beauty, emotional intelligence. She needs to hear, I love your energy. I adore how you express yourself. You bring light into this home. Adoration is not spoiling. It is emotional nourishment for feminine energy. When a man adores a woman, she becomes more trusting, radiant, open, and peaceful. Well, when we don't appreciate these differences, there are many misunderstandings can occur. I will give you some examples. How we understand silence. Man thinks, I'm processing. In woman's head, he's upset. How we process emotions. When woman wants to express her emotions, she gets louder, and man thinks she's attacking. We have different meanings of time alone. When man needs time alone, he needs to think. A woman thinks he's leaving me emotionally. We have different meaning of details. Woman treats details as emotional context. Men treat details as a noise. None of this is personal. It's just biology plus psychology plus timeless polarity. How to cope up with those differences? Make rules for communication. Name what you need without drama. This is deeply Slavic, direct, honest, and clean recommendations, I would say. So you can tell her that you need 20 minutes to think, or I need 5 minutes of empathy, she can say, or I need clarity, or I need reassurance. No mind reading games, just prosperity. Respect natural functions. A man cannot be the woman's emotional girlfriend. A woman needs her girlfriends to share emotions. It can be time in a spa or shopping with her female friends. A woman cannot be a man's quiet battle buddy. He needs his male community to be in his natural environment. When doubt, slow down. In Slavic tradition, before reaching, you breathe and count. Usually until 3, and then wait. Then choose intention. You will see how argument shrinks. According to the social surveys, when you wait, then arguments shrink by 80%. Admire differences instead of fighting them. A man's structure stabilizes a woman. A woman's intuition guides a man. Together, they are a dream team. Strength plus wisdom. Well, in Slavic wisdom, harmony never came from making men and women the same. It came from honoring their differences. Misunderstanding is not a sign of incompatibility. It's a sign of two different worlds trying to communicate without translation. When we translate, when we understand how the other processes, thinks, feels, and functions, love becomes easier, calmer, and deeper. I appreciate you for joining me today. Thank you. Remember, relationship isn't about changing nature. It's about learning its rhythm. I am saying goodbye. Until next time, stay aligned with your essence, honor your polarity, and let Slavic wisdom guide your modern heart.